Welcome to one of the most powerful stories you will ever hear. A story of rejection, struggle, belief, and unstoppable courage. This is not fiction. This is real. It is the story of two young men who couldn't even pay their rent, but through a crazy idea, changed the way the entire world travels. In 2007, in San Francisco, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were broke. Their rent was $1,150 per month, and they had no money, no jobs, and no backup plan. One day, when a big design conference came to town and hotels were fully booked, Joe had a wild idea. What if we rent out our living room? We don't have beds, but we do have air mattresses. They called it Air Bed and Breakfast. 3 strangers booked their living room, and they made $240. It wasn't much, but it was proof that people were willing to pay for the experience. The conference ended, the bookings stopped, and they realized they didn't have a real business yet. They called in their friend Nathan Blekerchik, a computer engineer, to join them. Together they started building a platform where anyone could rent out their home to travelers. They launched Airbnb.com, but nobody was interested. No users, no investors, no money. They were drowning in debt, living on cereal and peanut butter, and nearly gave up. In 2008, desperate for money, they designed limited edition cereal boxes called Obama-O's and Cap'n McCain's during the US election. Incredibly, they sold enough to make $30,000. That money kept Airbnb alive, but the real challenge remained. Investors rejected them over 1,000 times, saying, "Nobody will sleep in a stranger's home." Most people laughed at the idea. But Brian, Joe, and Nathan refused to give up. Then came their breakthrough. They applied to Y Combinator, the famous startup accelerator, and despite doubts, they were accepted. With $20,000 in seed funding and 3 months of mentorship, they transformed their idea. They redesigned the platform, improved photos, reviews, and trust systems, and focused on one city, New York. Brian and Joe flew there, met hosts in person, took photos of their homes, and taught them how to write better listings. Slowly, bookings increased. Their work was personal, human, and it worked. At Y Combinator's demo day, Airbnb finally caught investors' attention. They raised $600,000, gained publicity through TechCrunch, and soon the world began to notice. Airbnb started spreading city by city, country by country. People were drawn not only by cheaper travel, but by the unique experience of living like a local. Hosts earned extra income. Guests found something more personal than hotels. Airbnb was no longer just a product, it was becoming a movement. The company grew rapidly, expanding to more than 190 countries. But growth brought challenges. Cities demanded regulations, hotels fought back, and critics questioned safety. Airbnb responded with strategy and empathy, working with governments, adding insurance, safety systems, and strong customer support. Their brand shifted from just renting rooms to a mission: belong anywhere. It wasn't just about staying somewhere, it was about human connection. By 2015, Airbnb was valued at over $25 billion, more than many hotel chains, despite not owning a single building. They expanded into experiences, luxury stays, and community programs. But their biggest test came in 2020 when the pandemic struck. Almost overnight, Airbnb's business collapsed. Revenue dropped by 80% in 8 weeks. Millions of bookings were canceled, hosts were angry, and the company was bleeding money. Airbnb had to make a painful decision. They laid off 1,900 employees, nearly a quarter of their team. Yet, unlike most companies, they did it with compassion. They provided pay, laptops, health coverage, and even created a public directory to help employees find new jobs. The world respected how they handled the crisis. At the same time, Airbnb pivoted. They introduced long-term stays, work from anywhere, rentals, and online experiences. People started booking local getaways instead of international trips. Slowly, Airbnb began to recover. By the end of 2020, against all odds, Airbnb went public on the Nasdaq. Their IPO became one of the biggest in history, valuing the company at over $100 billion. From air mattresses in a living room to a global travel empire, Airbnb proved the power of belief, resilience, and courage. Today, Airbnb has hosted more than 1 billion guests, with millions of listings across the globe. It is more than a company. It is a story of hope, of survival, and of possibility. It reminds us that no matter how many times you are rejected, how hopeless things may seem, one idea, one act of courage, and one refusal to give up can change everything.